Hey guys, I have mentioned that I started a second site, and I did start a second site right around October. I spent the first 7 months of the site not looking at analytics at all, and it is finally time that we have looked at the analytics and I can give you a report about what happened. So the question is, right, if you don't check your analytics, is your site really growing? Well, let me tell you what happened with this site. The first thing obviously is the content, right? Um, we started the site in October. In October, we published 17 posts, 17 again in November, 16 in December, 10 in January, 12 in February. In March and April, I talked to you guys. In April, we were in the bus at our friend's farm. A lot has happened since that time, and I'll save that for another video, but I think you can start to see that our motivation had started to dip, and some of it was also wanting to see what the analytics were doing to kind of see if where we should focus the content on the site, and I'll touch on that in a minute. I want to talk about some of the things that I did differently on this site. Amelia had mentioned in some of her videos that she put Ezoic on her sites right away in order to take advantage of big data analytics, which is the analytics that are built into Ezoic. I'm really glad that I did. And there's a video that I am recording about the difference between what my Google Analytics looks like with a site this young and then what my big data analytics looks like. And after comparing the two, the big data analytics is much more useful with a baby site like I have. The data in there is much more useful and it populates much more quickly than Google Analytics. So we did put Ezoic on right away, and I'm glad that we did. The second site is a niche that we're already pretty involved in. So we did do some Facebook group outreach and some core participation. The other thing is we had a friend who's a writer, and he had been published in a periodical in the niche, and he was a good friend, and we asked if he would be interested in writing for the site. So from the very beginning of this site, we have had a writer. We pay him a flat rate, and he gives us a set amount of articles each month. That's one way that we were able to do a lot more content on this site, but I think the idea of hiring a writer was really scary at first because it's like, do I even know what I'm doing? But this felt very, very organic. It was someone that we knew, who we already knew was a writer. I think it has been a really gentle way for me to grow as a publisher because I have been able to communicate expectations. I've had to speed up my process for keyword research, and it has just been really good. We have had a writer since the very beginning of this site, and I'm glad that we did. So a couple things that happened before we checked analytics, some sneak peeks and good signs. The first thing was I went through, I'm a Project 24 member, and I went through the Battleship course on my first site. And I saw that my first posts were ranking very poorly. So out of curiosity, I went through my posts on this site, on site 2, and I found that a lot of them were already ranking on page 1. So that was a good sign. Before I checked analytics, I noticed that a lot of our articles were ranking on page 1. We have also done a little bit of YouTube to go along with this, and we did have some of our videos ranking as well. Also, affiliate clicks, man. So we are outside of just Amazon for this site. We have another affiliate program, and I saw I had only added one affiliate link in one post, and I had seen that I had already gotten 9 clicks. So that was a sneak peek. That was a good sign. A little while ago, I did a video about some of the things that were scaring me in the niche, and some of that is the YouTube channels in this niche do not have a lot of subscribers, do not have a lot of following. Of course, there are some examples, some larger sites or larger channels that do, but for the most part, even the larger channels, we're not talking about millions of subscribers. I also saw a site that I thought was maybe a Project 24 member site that had been up for a long time, and it seemed like they were doing a really good job, and SimilarWeb was showing that they weren't getting very much traffic, and that freaked me out. And then there's just like the general fear and anxiety that comes along with this industry. Like I was generally afraid that it just wasn't going to work. Okay, On the next slide, it tells you my page views for the up until April for this site. I want to say we checked the stats on May 1st. So on May 1st, we saw that April number, and this was the very first time I had ever looked at page views for the site. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to point something out, especially between November and December and January. So October, I mean, you can see all the stats on the page and I'll leave them up here, but this happened with site one, where like in the first 6 months or so, the numbers aren't doubling like you think they are, like 48 to 99. Oh, that's doubling, and I can expect it to keep doubling. So you see November to December, there's very little growth. And December to January, there's some, but it's not doubling anymore. And then it does start to double, or it's still not really reliably doubling, but it is getting bigger. So I just want to point out that I remember the first 6 months of site one staring at Google Analytics and like willing it to move, like willing, come on, there's got to be somebody out there on the site. And so not looking and um, missing the emotional turmoil that would have for sure happened in November, December, and January, I think was awesome. So having not looked at the site at all during those months, I think I saved myself a lot of anguish by trying to predict what was going to happen. And I've noticed the more that I've done this, you honestly and truly do not have enough data to make any predictions in these early months. Like 48 views, you can't say, it doesn't mean anything. So trying to make it mean something is what's going to drive you crazy. So then this is my earnings. I did put Ezoic on it right away. And there's a lot of questions about Ezoic. With my first site, I tried to put Ezoic on when I reached 1,000 page views. I had heard that recommendation, and I can see why for sure, right? But we know that Ezoic is like computer learning, so it takes them a lot of visits to like optimize, right? So if we look again at page views, in October, November, December, there was like a total of 250 people that came to the site. So there wasn't enough data for them to really know. And we would get very frustrated when we looked at the site that sometimes we didn't see any ads on the site. And looking back now, I think that was really all just the computer learning. The site wasn't working. So then I also included my EPMV numbers in here because I hear the question a lot about like, my EPMV is really low. How can I improve my EPMV, or will it improve over time? So you see the first month that we made money was February. My EPMV was only $6. But then in March, we made $5. So March would have been my curry day or pizza day, my first $5 month. And my EPMV had risen to $9.50. And now in April, my EPMV is up to $15. So I am hopeful that it's going to keep rising, but I also think that the money in this niche is really going to be affiliates. And so I'm going to work on my challenge for myself as I move forward on this site is to start an email list and really learn affiliate marketing a little better, because I really honestly and truly think that in this niche, if I send, hey, there's a sale, hey, this great product, I do think that we'll make money that way. So even if the niche is kind of small, I do think affiliate is where I'm going to clean up on this one. We have had our first Amazon sale on this site as well and made a solid $1.80 or something. So here's the deal. Like, do I think it was worth it to keep my self-restraint for not checking the analytics for 7 months? I think it turned out to be 7 months of this site. So there's two reasons I do think this was a good idea, and I think I will do this again if I end up starting another site. I don't plan on starting another site until I have reached full-time income between the two sites. So the first thing is the mindset. I know what I need to do. I need to write content. I know that there's no point in starting an email list at this point. There's no point in fiddling with different things. At this point now, I think there is some organizing I want to do on the site and a little bit of optimizing, but the majority of what I need to do is write content. We're almost at 100 articles on this site. now, and I think we'll hit 100 articles next month. And I think at that point I'll pause and reorganize. But my mindset was not what's wrong, how can I fix it? My mindset was all I have to do on this site is write content. And I think that was helpful. The other thing is analytics. I truly believe that at the beginning of a site, your analytics don't mean anything, so it's not helpful. And if we go all the way back to that first slide, you can see that when we stopped writing a lot of content in March and April, I did start to have some doubts and concerns about if we were targeting the best keywords, and I wanted a little more information to help me design some clusters. But you can see at that point we already had like close to 80 articles. So I think that when we checked analytics was when the time that the analytics could honestly and truly be helpful. So I think waiting to check your analytics for 7 months might sound super extreme to some of you. And to some of you, you might say, I didn't think of that. And I really need to credit Shaun Marrs for this, because Shaun Marrs mentioned in one of his videos what he thought beginners should do is not look at their stats for a year. And so, Shaun, I did 7 months, okay? And that was your idea. And so I'm really glad that I did. I think it helped me really focus on what I needed to focus on. There's a lot of things that are going right with this site, and I am hopeful that this site, in a less competitive niche than my first site, is really going to continue to be successful. So thank you guys so much. I'm super excited to be reporting this good news, and I'll keep you updated. Questions in the comments if you got them. Thanks.